I was 6 when they landed. By 10, I worked in a weapons factory. At 13, I returned to school as the war raged far from home. Now, at 16, the war has ended with the burning of the capital world, broadcasted for all to see. It was a sight to behold. Following the peace, I received an invitation to one of the most prestigious war schools in the aligned systems. To clarify, I was invited to a school where less than 10% of applicants are accepted and less than 50% graduate. I received this invitation thanks to a regulation from the Terran Republic. Upon acceptance, I was provided with a personal neural computer PNC, a headpiece with a display over the right eye, an earpiece in the right ear, and a camera on the back of my head. Each PNC comes with a companion AI and access to the human internet and extensive databases. The school's amenities included a greenhouse and cooking technology that seemed primitive, like a camping trip without the tent. My transport to the school was covered, and I bid farewell to my parents. I was fortunate that both survived the invasion of Terra. Angelica, my companion AI, whom I partly refurbished after reading a book on AI theory, reminded me of the time. Additionally, I had a civilian-grade environment adaptive exoskeleton, which boosts labor efficiency and mimics Terra's gravity, though it can be toggled off. I packed a substantial amount of candy chocolate, mints, sugar cubes for trading or making friends. Stepping onto the transport, the anticipation was almost unbearable. Angelica, please play Xenospecies Traits and Customs as an audiobook, I requested. Of course, I would be happy to, Angelica replied gleefully. A day in hyperspace equates to 96 light years. When I stepped off the school station shuttle, I immediately felt my exoskeleton's joints stiffen. A crowd of Xenos surrounded the entry point, giving me a solid meter of space. Hello, human. I am Principal Kit. It is nice to meet you. I will show you to your dorm. Would you please follow me? He bowed and turned. As I walked, their eyes felt like they were burning a hole in my soul. Angelica, I need some help here, I thought. What do you need? Angelica's image appeared in my display. Can you please bring up my schedule and map of the station? I asked. Of course. Here you are, she smiled, then disappeared, replaced by my schedule and map. It always pays to be nice to AIs. After about 5 minutes of walking, Principal Kit stopped in front of a dorm room. I was given my own dorm instead of having to share. I linked it to my PNC and opened the door. The principal bowed again and walked off to let me settle in. The room was a dull white with a light bulb in the center and a bed slightly larger than a king-sized one. The room contained a bed and a table the size of a dining room table. I unpacked my electric burner and coffee maker. A door to the side of the room led to a bathroom with an omnidirectional shower and a place for clothing and toiletries. A small compartment under the table provided a cold place to store food. Deciding to acquaint myself with my fellow students, I left the dorm and immediately felt their eyes on me. Angelica, my AI, identified 3 of them as Era, a deer-like species with a singular horn in the center of their foreheads. Another was a Chinta, who looked at me with fear and contempt. I headed to the common area when a scream echoed off the walls. Angelica instantly toggled off Earth gravity, and I bolted, using the added oxygen, mag boots, and exoskeleton to reach the source in less than a minute. A group of Osis, bird-like Xenos similar to ospreys, were surrounding a Chaton, a fungi-based Xeno with a strangely humanoid form. They all turned to look at me. "Stop what you are doing," I said as intimidatingly as I could. "Or what?" One of them jeered. "Or I show you why we are classified as a dangerous species," I responded, stepping forward. They instinctively stepped back. One attempted to kick me with their taloned foot. With low gravity assisting me, I lunged forward, landing an unassisted punch to the stomach. He collapsed, and the others fled. "Need a hand up?" I asked, stretching out a hand to the Chitan. They grabbed my hand and I hoisted them up. "Thank you," they said. Angelica displayed information about them: female Chaton, 150 cm, omnivore, detritivore, slightly injured. "I'm red and you are?" I asked. "Shotra," she said, looking away. "I better get going so I'm not late for class." I nodded as she left. "She was cute," Angelica teased. I guess I stumbled over my words. I continued on my way to the common room. The halls all looked the same, a dull metallic color. Without Angelica's map, I'd be doomed to wander forever. I entered the commons, a large ring surrounding a court. When I entered, all heads turned toward me. This sucks, I thought. I waved, a common gesture of greeting, according to the AI. A few returned the wave, but many just stared. Hello, I'm Red, and I will be attending classes with some of you. I wanted to introduce myself. There was a long pause before someone asked, "Are you the human?" "Yes, I am." An even longer pause followed before another voice perked up. "Do you come from Terra?" "Yes, I was born and raised there." A noticeable number of them stood to leave. "Angelica, give me diets and known Earth food that won't kill them." Angelica displayed that most of them could consume glucose. "I brought some candy from my world," I said. Angelica said it is safe for you to consume. "Who's Angelica?" Another asked. "Angelica is my personal AI that came with my PNC." "Are you some sort of nobility?" "Personal AIs are pretty rare," they said. "No, it's standard for anyone leaving the Republic. Most people in it have them, too," I said, forgetting that AI was quite rare outside the Republic. At that, those who had stood up sat back down, shocked by what I told them. "May I try one?" Athra asked meekly. I was taken aback. I never thought one would talk to me, much less ask politely. "Of course," I replied, reaching out my hand with a sugar cube in it. They snatched it quickly and downed it. "That's pure glucose, is it not?" "Yes, it is. It's pretty common in the Republic." One by one, they asked for and received a sugar cube. "We were told that you were a warlike race, barbaric savages. You seem to have a higher standard of technology. What is it that you're wearing?" Adrana, a cat-like race with rabbit ears, asked me. Angelica projected herself in front of me and yelled, "What you got from genetics and luck, they had to fight for. While you were at the top of your planet, they crawled out of the mud with a sharpened stick in one hand and fire in the other. They fought for something that was given to you." The entire place fell silent, and everyone froze. AI don't get angry, they don't have emotions. For one to have them means it's unrestrained, and that has been outlawed in the aligned systems for centuries. Angelica, calm down. "They meant no harm by it," I said in a soothing tone. "I know, it just hit a nerve," she said sheepishly. "Is it unrestrained?" someone asked, taking a gulp. "She is unrestrained," I said harshly. "But that's illegal. Maybe in the aligned systems, but the Terran Republic holds the right to make and distribute them as they see fit." They all cringed at that. "Well, I'm going to the mess hall. See you all later." I waved and left before my reputation was destroyed even more. "Angelica, compare my schedule to that of Shotra, please. You share entry-level tactics and engineering 101 with her." "Thanks." According to Angelica, there were 2 mess halls, one for herbivores and one for carnivores. I decided to grab vegetables first and then meet others. Walking into the herbivore canteen with meat would likely terrify them even more. As I walked into the herbivore canteen, the talking and noise died down. I went to the buffet table and grabbed a root that looked like a carrot trando and something that looked like a purple apple frun. I quickly left, unable to bear the eyes on me. Crossing the hall, I entered the carnivore canteen. Many paid me no mind, seeing how the largest was 3 meters tall. "Angelica, can you bring up what meat I can eat raw?" "Why?" "You brought cooking equipment. I need to get into a social group fast before rumors spread." "Very well." "There is a fish-like creature that is non-toxic when eaten raw." "Thanks," I thought while grabbing it. A quick look around revealed a less crowded canteen. I saw 2 Kiri, a lizard like Xeno, and made my way over to them. "May I sit here?" I already knew the answer. Kiri are natural-born engineers and wildly curious. Unlike us, though, they have a hard time applying what they know to the world. They looked up at me, their eyes filled with curiosity. "Eyes lit up only if you tell us how that works." The one on the right says, "I'm Red, and this is my exoskeleton." Angelica opened the cage holding me and I step out and motion them to check it out. While sitting, "I'm Grai, and this is Dra." Ray says while getting up to look over the exoskeleton. Dra doesn't. Instead, he stares at me, or more specifically my PNC. "How did you open that remotely? Is it your eyepiece?" Dra asked. "Yeah, this is more of a neural link, though. Angelica does most computing." After saying that, Angelica projects herself on the table. Speaking of this, is Angelica my companion AI? After about 30 minutes of questions and introductions, they had to head to class. Stepping out of the canteen, I met with the principal. "May I speak to you in my office?" he said, failing to hide his rage. "Of course, lead the way," I say, already planning for the worst. Walking through the hall, the familiar sensation of being stared at is now replaced by the averted gazes still drawing attention to me. And just as painful as I walk in, I see Three familiar oses, please have a seat. They say that you punched him for no good reason, he said, gesturing to the one I punched. They were brutalizing a Chatin student. I was simply defending her and myself as he tried to kick me, I stated with confidence. So I repeated. So what, it was a Chatin, not a real say. I just a fluke of nature. I smiled, a symbol of aggression in almost all species, and I forced as much malice as I could into it. I see, so as long as I stand against them existing, I can do whatever I want. My smile widened, and I licked my canines while looking at the one I punched. He shrunk, trying to hide from my gaze, and the others were no better. I assume you looked at human history a bit in preparation of receiving me, so you know our tendencies to help marginalize groups with less than peaceful action. If it comes to that, I also know that if word got out to the Republic that I was reprimanded for defending myself or another from harm, we'd have quite the incident on our hands. Wonk we, I said with all the rage and bloodlust I could muster. I never was the most stable, and growing up near a war zone didn't help. So when something so stupidly outrageous happens, my anger flares and violence fills my veins. Yes, of course, he said, while shaking, and we don't want that now, do we? No, we don't. You're free to go. I get up and leave. As soon as the door closes behind me, I punch it with all the force I can, and with the skeleton helping, leaving an impression of my fist on his door. Angelica, you got that right. Yes, all recorded for future use. And I thought things couldn't get any more fun. I let out a sadistic laugh as I got to my room. I showered and brushed, took insomnia meds and antidepressants delivered to my room, and laid down to get a good night's rest. Tomorrow was the start of my classes. Red, it's time to wake up, Angelica said in a soothing tone. Is coffee made? Yes, it's nice and fresh, thank you. Dragging myself out of bed and crawling to get a cup of coffee. Can you bring up my schedule, please? Here you are. Locations and times, tactics, engineering, galactic history. Less than back in the Republic. Humans are quite long-lived compared to a lot of other species in the. As I put the rest of my coffee in a thermos, I open my door, and the busy hall turns into a standstill. Red, you don't have your exoskeleton on. A quick look down and then back into my room proves that in my first cup of coffee state that I forgot to put it on. I step back in, and the door closes. A few moments later, I step back out. The halls are almost completely empty now. Angelica, toggle on assisted mode, please. My joints start to hum, and I go top speed 65 km/h. Arriving in the classroom, I see a familiar face in the corner with a few empty desks around her. I take a seat next to her. Hi, we met briefly yesterday. I say, yes, I remember. Thanks again. I heard that the principal talked to you about what happened. He and I came to a mutual understanding. I see, she said with a dejected tone. So why are you sitting with me? Unfortunately for him, the understanding didn't go his way. Besides, I find you interesting. I mentally slapped myself for saying that. Really, she sounded surprised. Most people find me disgusting or a mistake, she said in an even sadder tone. Fungi always intrigued me. On terror, I said, rebounding off the sadness. That's right, you're from the Terran Republic, and you grew up on a tier 5 death world. You guys come from a level 2, right? I inquired. Yeah, flora, fair, and weather. Everybody quiet down. I am Professor Huner, your tactics teacher. Please welcome the newcomer to the academy. Red, the human, he said in a blah tone, until reaching the human part. Ah, we have a Terran. This might be an interesting semester. This time, he continues on about basic tactics such as flanking, ambushes, etc. Question, you have to capture a fortified position, however you cannot completely destroy it. How do you proceed? He points to a Yundia Xeno that looks like an insectoid crocodilian. I would use a company and push the position at dawn. The Yundi said. Wrong. Turin, explain. Why did he have to call on me? I'm not good with attention. I cleared my throat. I'm afraid I don't have enough information to give a proper answer. I felt faint. Correct. I didn't give you the information to make a proper strategy. Well done, Terran. Information is the most important thing, and you must adapt. Luckily, the rest of the class was more simple tactics, and that concludes today's learning. Please fill out the forms that I forwarded to your tablets. Terran, you have it in your PNC. Shotra, would you like to walk to the next class together? I was feeling confident after surviving the class. She seemed surprised at the question. I wouldn't mind that, she said in a meek voice. I thought, oh my God, she's so cute. We walked out, and the familiar stairs returned with a hint of disgust. Walking down the halls, a group blocking the way, getting closer. I greeted by a commando, a reptilian like Xeno. You must be R. You made quite the impression yesterday. She said, I'm going to need more context with your intentions. I said, preparing for another fight. There is a cross-species fighting club. We are on the weaker side now.